Hello, good morning or afternoon or evening. Welcome to this tutorial for the new spare part tool. I'm gonna show you how it works. You can read most things also in a tutorial, which you can just find by clicking inside the tool on download tutorial. You can also click on the link to see the video there. Um, so the spare part tool that we use in MSF is mainly intended to help us with the management of the stock for items that we need to run and maintain the biomedical equipment, especially when it comes to the technician, the parts he needs. So replacement parts and, for example, the filters that we need to change on a regular basis. So mainly the tool will help you to estimate the consumption based on the number of equipment you have of these items you need on a regular base, and also it will advise you on which parts to keep in stock as a backup because they might often break down. So we don't keep all spare parts, we just keep a subset that we think is most useful. And this tool will give you advice on both, and you can adjust it if you want. Um, so basically, it's very simple. What it basically does, if you see the tool, you can here enter the amount of equipment you have, and then you'll see an advice here, and here you can change this value. You can, for example, say you want to have 2 times the advised value because maybe you're using very distinct conditions. It will ask you to leave a comment behind so your successor will know why you adjusted the tool, the advice. And then you can export this advice to the TSR with a single click of a button, and it will give you the parts you need to enter in a TSR with the required minimum stock or the forecast of the monthly consumption. And then the supply log can make sure that you will have the right parts and the right amount in the right time. So that's basically all the tool helps you with, and all the other things are just to make it a bit more nicer and easier to navigate. You can see the prices of your spare parts and the equipment, so you can compare the total value of your spare parts with the equipment. You can do some filtering. You can list all the tools, all the equipment that we have in the tool, everything that we have in the project. You can update and advise with if there's a new version. You can update it, so you'll have always the most recent data. You can add your own equipment. Um, so yeah, that's it. I will go step by step through the tool um, to show you everything. So there's a front page. It shortly describes what I'm just telling you, what you can do with the tool. Then here I put some items that are always good if you manage biomed equipment to have them in your workshop, because you need to use tools, you need to have an oxygen analyzer if you have oxygen concentrators, and it's always good to have a set with fuses. These are not part of the spare part estimates, but just check them if you have them. If you don't have them, order them on the international order. And here you can enter just your project, your country, and your project description, so people will know for which project the tool is. And then this data will show you which tool version it is. So this is the first release of this 3M tool. The advice version, so this is the advice from December 2017. And then when you last saved the file, when you last updated the file, um, when you last updated the advice. So that's good to know, because if there's a new version, you can see if you might have to update yours or not. The new version you can find on Habari, so you can always check if there's a newer version over there to maybe update your current version. And the update is not done automatically because it's an Excel file. But you can simply, if you need to do an update, you can just click this button and load the newer file into your current file, and it will make everything up to date. Um, So yeah, that's the front page. So as I said, here are some links, and you can just click here to get started with the tool. Um, so the tool, it has here a header which you can use to filter your equipment. And here we have two categories. You have laboratory equipment, so you can only show the laboratory equipment, and then we can show what's in the tool or what we have in a project. Same for the biomed. You can show what's in all the biomed equipment in the tool if you want to add equipment, or you can list if you want to work with your current equipment. You can list what's in the what you have in the project. This is for the Kutapalong project in Bangladesh. Um, Here's also you can quickly expand everything, so you have all the spare parts in one view, or only the equipment. You can also click on the equipment name to expand it, and you can click again to collapse it. You can only not click twice the same cell, because then you can edit it. But if you click other cell, you can expand and collapse it. Here are some links to all the materials about this equipment. If you need more information, there's like a message where you can put short messages about things you should take into consideration when you're gonna make your spare part plan. Then there's links to the catalogs. So this will open just the page from the Tukul catalog. So you can read more about the equipment, what it is, what it does, what you need for it. It also says what comes in the package if you have a new one. And there's also a link to the catalog page, but now for the spare parts. So these are all the spare parts that are in a catalog and that you in principle can order, although not all might be in the green list. But in Unifield you can actually order also parts that are not in the green list, technically. So then here are some links also to the protocols. The protocols will describe also how you do the maintenance and what you need for it. So if you don't know how often a filter is replaced, so usually this is the amount of filters you need. So you need 12 in a year for 3 concentrators. So you can calculate it's replaced every 4 months. Um, but you can check this when you just open the protocol. It's on Habari, and then you have the you can check the protocols. So you don't have to go through great troubles to find these protocols. You can also open the user protocol if you want to print it and put it in the Word. Then here you can see the advice stock values that we advise as a back office to keep in stock. It's based on a separate sheet. We will come back soon. With data we enter, and then you cannot adjust values in this column because this is the advice value that we enter. But you can adjust values here, and if you adjust a value, you can do it in different ways. You can just change the formula. It will refer to this. Normally copy this value, but you can say if you have like a, you want to replace a filter more often, you can just change the formula to 2 times that value, and then you can enter a comment so somebody after you will know would make the change and why. Okay, so if now I change it because I changed only the formula, if I now change the number of equipment, then both values will change and this will always be the double of this. If you just change the number, you just put 24, for example. Okay, then if I change my number of equipment, this value won't change. Okay, so it's easier to just refer to the advice value and multiply it, so it will always be updated um, when you change the number of equipment. Yeah. So there's also an information button here that will show you a screen with a short explanation about the data. And here you can also, it's explained how you can change the formulas. It's better to to make a reference than to enter this value. Um, okay, and then here you can export the data to the TSR, which I showed you before. It's very simple. You can export just the data that you have open on the screen, Or you can use a menu with some options to filter a subset of all the data. I can, for example, say I only want to have biometric equipment. I want also I will I want to put all the items on the TSR, even if I don't need to order them. So you can include those C values, and then it will give you this uh, all the data based on that criteria. Okay, so here, if you have your list of equipment, and you can here select the categories that you want to see. So sometimes it's difficult to scroll down to find the right equipment. So you can also here there are certain alphabets. So you can quickly go, for example, to the concentrator, which will filter out this single equipment, so you can work on your spare part plan for this equipment. You can also select by code if it makes it easier for you. And these menus they will change with the category. So if, for example, you only look at the laboratory equipment in your project, these drop downs they will only give you these two pieces of equipment. So in this case, this make many sense because you can just expand this one. Didn't have spare parts. You can expand this one. Um, but if there's a lot of equipment, if you look for the right equipment in the 3M, for example, it's a lot of things to scroll down. So it's maybe easier to just select the code or the description of the equipment. So if you need like a ultrasound or a suction pump, the Velvis pump that we often use, you can just select it here, which makes it a bit easier. Okay, so this is about the header, and here you can have a function to update the advice. And if you update the advice, you can select if you want to use a new version. If you download the file from Habari, the link is on the front page. You can check if there's a newer version. You can also click no, then it will use the own database to run an update. So if you're, for example, been editing some things and you messed up some things here, you can run the update. It will correct all the data here and also the prices. It just wants just this column where you make all your custom adjustments. So any customization you did will be saved when you update. And when there's a new if you download a new file from Habari and you update your current tool, it will show stars in front of the items. So you can see which items have been added that you might need to review or to add to your TSR if you use this equipment. Yeah, there's also a button here to add custom equipment. So you can actually you only need a description. Let's say I have an anesthesia machine that's like from MO8, but I want to keep some spare parts for this machine in stock. You can add the equipment to the tool. You can put some description here. If you have a web link, you can put it here so people can quickly find a web page. You don't need a code for equipment. It's not standard. We often don't have codes. So if you press this OK with the description, it will just add the equipment here, and the tool will generate itself a code just to keep track of it in its internal database. Otherwise, um, yeah, you cannot use all the filtering and fancy things, so you need a code. Here you can see there's no advice for non-standard equipment, but you can enter something yourself. Okay, I can add a spare part. Um, for example, tubing, maybe. Also here you don't need to have a code, but if you want to have this thing in stock, it's handy to make a code request first with your supply log, so you can enter a code here. So when you make a final TSR, you will have real codes. But now I don't know something, so I don't fill in anything. And you'll see it also creates a custom code here. And you can fill in, for example, I want to have, I think I'm gonna replace them 4 times per year. And then voila, you have your custom equipment entered, right? So that's quite easy. You can also enter prices. You can do it now, or you can do it when you fill in the menu, but you can also edit it um, later just by filling in the price here. Um, so that's about custom equipment. Yeah, you can initialize a tool if you press this button. It will give you a warning. What it does is it just completely builds the tool based on the advice, so it erases all the custom data. Um, it's actually this whole page is built by code. After you press this button, um, everything will be zero. All your custom adjustments will be lost. But it's handy if somebody from other project shares this tool with you because you don't know how to find it on the website. Then at least you can make put it back in the new state, so to completely reset the tool, so you can start working it without, because you don't know what the people from the other project been adjusting. So then you have a clear start. Okay, so this is about this function in the header. Then for all the equipment, we either have like we keep a minimum stock, or we have like a yearly consumption. Um, so if you replace things on a regular basis, you can estimate the yearly consumption. If it's only spare parts that you need in case it breaks down, you can keep a minimum stock. So you can enter values here for both, but you can only have one value for one piece of equipment. One Either a part is like low C or a part is a FMC item in the TSR. So what can happen is, for example, if you have like an oxygen concentrator and you have, for example, a humidifier. Here we have 54, but I say no, I don't want to have a yearly consumption. I just want to make sure there is like a 5 in stock, let's say. Mm, we don't replace them often. Okay, so if I have now like the other concentrator, like a new life, and also has like a humidifier, but here I leave the yearly consumption. If I then export it to the TSR, it will give you an error because you have now, for one equipment, you have entered a low consumable, and for the other, you have entered as a item with a monthly consumption. Um, so the tool will give you an error. I will show it again a bit slower. Um, so it will give you an error for the humidifiers because you have entered two values. And so you have to check your TSR, now your 3M. You have to check your tool to see where the error is, because you have to check the several entries of humidifiers and see if they all have either a minimum stock value or a yearly consumption. Okay. Um, yeah, so that's basically it. All the things you can do with a tool. Um, so yeah, if you can make this list with the estimates for spare parts that you need to have in stock, your supply log will be very happy. And I hope that this tool will make it a bit easier to make your spare part contingency plan. And I hope that it's a bit easier to work with, and that the links help you to find the right information. Oh, yeah, the last thing you need to know is that if you look at the spare parts, sometimes you find equipment that's like a strike through. This is equipment that we don't have on the green list anymore, but you can still order the spare parts for it. So here you see it's like grayed out. So this makes sense to put values in here because you cannot order them, but you can still order the spare parts. Some equipment also have red items. These are like items that are actually you need to operate the equipment, but these are ordered by the medical team. but we put them in a tool so the biomed can maybe double check if the medics they ordered the correct item, but the biomed doesn't have to make the estimate for this because it often depends on the number of patients, and this is handled by the pharmacy. But it's always good to double check if you have the right consumables also to operate your equipment. Um, so that's it. Thank you for watching and have a good night.